Welcome to Talawa Justice Talk, where we talk about issues concerning victims' rights, and women's rights and reparations. I have with me today Sylvia Acan, the founder and director of Golden Women Vision in Gulu, Northern Uganda. Sylvia is a remarkable woman. She is a survivor of war, the war that took place between the Lord's Resistance Army and the Ugandan government forces in Northern Uganda. She was abducted at the age of 13 years and lived all of her teenage life in captivity and was subject to unimaginable crimes. She bore 2 children during her years of captivity, and upon return, Sylvia has set and dedicated her life to work tirelessly on behalf of fellow survivors, and in particular on behalf of women and children born of war. She has, since her return, gone back to school. She is now educated, and she has even obtained a bachelor and a master's degree in social work and social administration. But what she has learned in terms of her education is nothing to be compared to the numerous things that Sylvia has been able to do, particularly during this COVID-19 era. So this interview is aimed at amplifying Sylvia's voice and making the world become aware of this remarkable woman who is doing so much to advance the cause of fellow survivors. Sylvia, welcome.
Thank you, Lorraine. I'm excited for your great questions and this is the real life I underwent. Yeah, as mentioned, I'm a director from Golden Women Vision Uganda, a war survivor who suffered in Northern Uganda during the insurgency of the terrorists, the killings, the abductions of the children, especially the women who were brutally killed, who were slaughtered like animals. So thank you so much. This is me, and this is the life I underwent.
Yes.
I realized there is hope for me. There's a reason for me to live in this world. After going through my education, after coming from captivity, I felt I have to do something for my fellow survivors. I realized there's a reason for me to live. The survivors are suffering. The suffering I underwent, the torture I underwent during captivity was really too much. It's untellable. The killing that took place, the piling of people in one grass thatched house and setting fire to them so that they set them into flames was untellable. I saw with my own eyes. So the life I underwent, I realized I need to do something for my fellow survivors. That is why I started registering the organization called Golden Women Vision in Uganda. I was not alone, Lorraine. I brought more 5 women who also suffered during the atrocities and the killings in Northern Uganda. Because the affected places were Gulu, Teso, and Lango, where the killing took place. So really, I found out that I have to register Golden Women Vision Uganda to support my fellow survivors. And I said to myself, I'd spend the rest of my life creating any possibilities, if I could, if someone could, to support these vulnerable survivors, because they are dying. We have those who are dead already. They are there. I can still say the names of those who died, who were slaughtered.
Yeah.
I have to do something for them, Lorraine.
I can see and definitely feel your passion, Sylvia, but tell us a little bit more about what Golden Woman Vision does for the survivors. How does it actually work to support survivors?
To work to support the survivors, we engage them in various activities like capacity building, training, so that, these women suffered the stigma and trauma is still there.
Mm-hmm.
So we give them psychosocial support. We give them psychosocial support and engage them in various activities like bakery, so that they could like bake some of the cakes, but in small quantity, in small capacity, that they cannot. The little that we could do is to help them to do what they can so that they could meet their household needs. We also move in offices, Lorraine, because we don't have resources. We move in offices, we make sure we get these calendars, the calendars of different colors. We make the beads that you can see here to design the women. We also, so that they know that, yeah, they're there. There's hope for them. We also train them on access to justice, because most of the women doesn't know their rights, especially those who came back from captivity, the children born from captivity. They have nowhere to go. And some of them thought that they have to commit suicide. So in Golden Women Vision Uganda, we look at these vulnerable people, targeted people, so that we could talk to them. We could share ideas with them. We make, during our verbalization, they tell their stories. When we talk to them, we give them ideas how they could handle, you see? So with Golden Women Vision Uganda, we target especially the war survivors and children born from captivity.
And give us an idea, Sylvia, of how the organization is structured, so that we understand when you say, you know, you are helping survivors. Firstly, how is Golden Women's Vision structured? So you are the executive director, and who else do you have working with you?
We have the board of directors. We have 9 board of directors. Then we have the executive director, which is me. Then we have the coordinators. We also have the volunteer staffs who work tirelessly. We have also the receptionist who invite, because all the time our door is open like a police officer's office. So our office is normally open. We have the receptionist. That is the last part of it,
Yeah. Okay. And how many women do you serve? How large is the community of women that you serve, and children?
Yeah, Lorraine, regarding our total population of the beneficiaries that we serve, we used to have like 500 women. But as I talk, we have increased. The number is overwhelmed. We have about like 2,021 registered survivors. But in hard-to-reach places, we haven't reached there. Because, and then we have the children born from captivity. It's 821. We have all the data with us here.
How does Golden Women Vision fund its work?
Okay, regarding that, you know, as we made them to be very creative in doing the skill work. They had been doing what is called village saving. So we do village saving, and then we sell these beads, we sell the bags, then out of the saving, we give some stipend, just stipend to them. But they work tirelessly, because they are the people who also suffered. Some of their daughters were also killed, and some of their parents, and some of them also were in captivity. So we feel we have to do it. But if in the future we get other ways, we do it, and life continues, Lorraine.
Yeah, I can see that. But what happened during the COVID-19 era in terms of your work with the women? How did the COVID-19 impact the women that you serve?
Oh, COVID-19 has brought a lot of issues. At first, you see, when COVID-19, and it's still there, the women suffered, they could not get their household needs. They could not get food to eat. Even some of them could not afford to pay their rentals. The landladies and landlords chased them from their houses, but we were there to go and please speak to them. What worries me was they did not even have any access to food, any access to medical care. Since the travels were banned, you could not even jump on a border. You cannot even food, and you are sick. It was so difficult, really.
The border is this public transportation on a motorbike in Uganda, right?
Yeah, it's a it's a transport.
I would love to hear from you more specifically concerning some of the challenges that women face, women survivors of sexual and gender-based violence. So first of all, what were some of the particular challenges that victims of sexual and gender-based violence experienced and faced, once they came from captivity? And what are some of the challenges that you see that have gotten even worse because of COVID-19?
Yeah, the challenges that the women who came back from captivity face is that, one, some of us came with the children born from war, and their fathers are not here with us. So these are the children, they're suffering with the children, because even the identity of the children, getting even the ID of the child becomes a problem. A child born from captivity, they normally call the name that con, you see, yet the time when they came, the time when they were abducted, the time when the mother was taken to captivity, it was just like forced, you see. So what they are facing now is that they have no place. Some of them want to study, they cannot study. They can't meet even the school fees for themselves. And even the survivors themselves cannot support their fellow children that they came back with from captivity. And the women who came back from captivity are facing high cases of gender-based violence. And most of them doesn't know even their rights, you see. And some of them, since they have spent most of their time in captivity, they are illiterate. Some of them cannot even read. You will sign a document that can bring you an issue. We had other women also who signed document, or somebody want to sell the land and then sign. At the end of it all, they were chased from the land. That I didn't sign yet, you were there, you see. So illiteracy, so the women doesn't know how to read, they don't know how to write. So there is this high demand from people. You see? So the survivors, the survivors really have high cases of gender-based violence. Lorraine, I must tell you, the suffering that they underwent during captivity is not easy. So they came back with their children, and they were still in childbearing age. They felt like getting another man and also having other children. So these children are divided. You see?
I mean, that is something that I think is important to talk about, the kind of the social impact of their experience in captivity and what that now means for their future. These were young women, and so they're still in childbearing age when they came back. But what about some of the physical trauma and the physical challenges associated with the fact that a number of them were repeatedly, sexually abused? Are you still seeing some of those challenges even 10, 15 years later? What are some of those issues?
The issues that I see is that, most of these survivors, the women, they were gang raped. Right. And most of them have chronic illness in their uterus. Some of them now cannot even give birth. Only a few lucky ones can give birth. But also they still have problem which needs gain. And then also the problem that I'm seeing, you know, most of them had bullets in their body, and bullets are poisonous.
Right.
The survivors cannot really even pay their bills to the hospital, you know, because they're not healthy. They are not healthy. So some of them die silently, and then the other person is a voice to her. So really, in that, it gives us pain, and it is still there. Yeah.
But what about, you mentioned also then the kind of impact then, if somebody is suffering from these chronic physical ailments that they're not getting treatment for, and then you have the COVID-19 situation where there is a lockdown. And I know in Uganda generally, but in Northern Uganda in particular, women play a really important role in the household in terms of, you know, the being breadwinners. A lot of them, they are the ones that actually do the physical labor. They earn money, but they also care for the children. So they have an economic role to play, as well as the, you know, the role of being a mother and so on, and then a partner. How has COVID-19 sort of made worse some of these issues that the women have had to deal with, you know, since returning from captivity?
And there's no food. So a woman could look, a man will just come and ask for food. I want food. So women are now like the head of the families. I must say this, you see, because if you don't provide, they beat you. They beat you up, or they chase you out of the house. So during COVID-19 has just like worsened the whole situation, because getting food was difficult for women, and that's why the households were sleeping hungry, and we had to look for food, which we could not even get. Yeah.
You mentioned to me, I think before we started this interview, that you know, you were helping a survivor whose home had burnt down because it is dry season now in Uganda. And so the thatched grass that they use to build a house or to make the roof had started burning. And then she has to now go out and get new grass to build the roof of the house. And I think one of the things that we were looking at is the fact that even coming back to, for the woman, coming back and doing those things, you know, making sure that you go and look for grass to help to build up back your house and so on. All of those are things that the women have to do in addition to everything else they're doing. How do you support, like, what did you do to support somebody like that who is going through this difficult loss and, you know, doesn't really have anywhere to turn to?
Yeah, one of the survivors' house was burnt because, you know, it's dry season now in Uganda, but even sometimes when it is not dry season, the grass thatched houses gets burnt. But what I did to support these vulnerable survivors sincerely, when her house got burnt, she has to look for the grass. So we contributed some 1,500 Uganda shilling to help the lady build her house, because she has nowhere to stay. She has nowhere to sleep with her 3 children. So we tried to contribute to that, but since it's not enough, but that is what we did, now we need to look into food so that she could also cook with some saucepans. Everything got burnt in the house, you see. And one of her daughter, she had some burnt, and we need to treat it. We need to treat that wound. We need to treat the wound. So the first thing we did was just like to get some urine and then pour.
Okay.
The first aid.
Well, you know, Sylvia, I wanted to, you showed us beads. We're looking, we can see behind you, and we are seeing baskets. Can you tell us about what the Golden Women Vision does to help the women to carry out activities so that they can earn?
Oh yeah, Golden Women Vision Uganda, we make the beads, and then we make these baskets that you can see behind me here to get some income. This income help the survivors sometimes when they are sick in emergency situations. We need to make like plenty of this so that we could save some money for emergencies.
Mm-hmm.
You see, like if I could give you an example of the COVID-19, we were not planned. We had not planned. So this has made our mind to come that we need really to think about other emergency cases that may arise. So Golden Women Vision Uganda make these baskets. They make the beads, and then out of the selling, we keep some profit, and then we also buy with the material to help them. Because the survivors are not they don't have medical insurance. So we don't want them to die. We want them to be alive and have hope. And that's why we are doing this.
No, definitely. And tell me something, as a woman who is leading this organization, you are a survivor yourself, and you are working with survivors. How are you managing? How do you manage to be a leader of an organization that is working with fellow survivors? What are some of the challenges that you face as a woman in leadership who is also a survivor?
Yeah, as a woman in leadership, as a survivor, sincerely managing the organization is resources, because I need to get resources to make sure the organization runs smoothly. At least I could give some stipend to the volunteer staffs, even we have some meetings, and then also have some emergency resources to support these vulnerable survivors. If they are supported, for sure they'll have hope. And we give some, if I could give some stipend also to the volunteer staffs, it makes them also to carry out the great work that they're doing for the vulnerable survivors. So there's need for resources to really support this organization so that it runs smoothly, and then support the wider coverage that we are trying to reach. Because with the work that the organization is doing, we are receiving requests from various districts so that they really need our support. And I'm thinking, how can I do this? I can do it. I can.
I know. But Sylvia, I know that what you're doing is important, and I celebrate it. But we've had discussions before about the role that the government of Uganda needs to play in ensuring that survivors are able to live a sustainable life and to have a sustainable future. And in one of those ways is certainly by ensuring that the transitional justice policy is taken forward. It was passed in June 2019, and we are still waiting for Parliament to enact the transitional justice bill. And as part of that TJ policy, the government talks about a reparations, enacting a national reparations program. It's been 20 years now, and victims are still waiting for reparations. What are your thoughts on that?
I must tell you, Lorraine, that with reparation, we have seen it is a slow process. We have most of the survivors who are dying. Some others are already dead already, and others are sick now. Now we shall keep on waiting for reparation. We just kindly request the government, if the government can push this before some of our survivors whom we suffered with in captivity, they are still alive. Let them enjoy. But when will this be? You see, it's taking too long. That is to me and other survivors, because we did some assessment in that. It's taking too long. And then also the government also should look at things which are being like designed for the survivors should be given to them. Let them be the beneficiaries. You see, this is how I look at. Let them be the beneficiaries. Let it not be taken for the other things or the other projects. Let it benefit them. Let them think about them. The atrocities, the killings, the abduction, it has happened some great years back, but now you see, we have the Lord's Resistance Army, the Joseph Kony, he is still alive. We don't know what will happen in 10 years to come.
Right.
So this brings to my mind, something needs to be done before we die.
Yeah, yeah. Do you still have a lot of victims who are suffering from, for example, HIV, AIDS, or anything like that?
Most of them, because during there, they were like gang raped, and they're having the ARVs that they have to take. They are sick. Some of them are sick.
Okay. But are there any, apart from HIV, AIDS, are there other medical issues that they are struggling with?
Yes, they are struggling from the gyne problem, and then the
gynecological, you mean? So
yeah, it's gynecological problem, and most of the women are facing, and I myself is facing too. So you feel like you really need to consult a doctor. You don't have money. You're not medically insured. So sometimes you keep quiet. When the pain subsides, then that is it. Also, the problem also that they face is, they had bullets in their bodies. Bullets are poisonous.
Yeah, you had mentioned that before. I'm thinking now very much around the women who have survived sexual violence in particular. And you mentioned a couple of things of the medical challenges that they are facing. So HIV, AIDS, you have gynecological problems. I don't know, for example, fistulas. Are fistulas very common with some of these victims as well? And as you said, infertility. Some of them can't have any more children as a result. What about, do you also work with men, like male victims who have encountered sexual and gender-based violence?
Yes, we have the women, but the majority are, we have the men, but the majority are women. The men are there also who suffered because some of them were forced to be killing very many people.
But do you have any male sexual violence survivors as part of your group?
Yeah, we have 8.
Okay.
We have 8 of them, yes.
And what are some of the challenges that they experience as sexual violence survivors? The males in particular.
The male, the problem that they face is with like the women that they're with now in the house, because they were also forced to rape like many girls, like you have to rape them. So they have lost that interest of maybe like having like with their fellow women. So it brings also gender-based violence in the house. They are fed up, they are tired. And the problem that we also face with them is sometimes the nightmares. They have the nightmares. Even the survivors, the ladies, they also have the nightmares. Sometimes you begin seeing what you saw in captivity. It's not rubbing. So this rubbing needs psychosocial support to be given to them. This is something really, Lorraine, I really need to request. You can see the psychosocial support really need to be given to them.
What is the ultimate vision then of Golden Women Vision? What is the ultimate vision?
What I look at is that as capacity building with the Golden Women Vision Uganda, I see in the future if we could develop like a place where the women could even do some of their skill work, like even baking the cakes. if we could bake the cakes in various capacities, because in Northern Uganda, we don't have a great bakery can do that, it will be like job creation for the survivors.
Yeah.
You see? And that's where they can earn something, and then they sell it. It will make them forget the past. It will remind them they have something to do. Instead, it will create hope for their life and their children. It will make them busy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's fine, Sylvia. I will take your details, and at the end of this broadcast, I will make sure that I leave the information so that persons who may want to get in touch with you to hear more about your work and to support what you do will be able to locate you. And I also want to say that you have not only kept your work just within Uganda, you have been an inspiration as well, because the first place that I met you was through the Dr. Dennis Mukwege Foundation, where I saw you give a presentation at a platform when Dr. Mukwege was being honored in The Hague, and you spoke. And it was from there that I made the connection and was very pleased to come to know you and to also see your work in person when I visited Uganda. So you are a member also of Dr. Mukwege's Global Survivors Initiative. And I think that clearly you continue to have a passion for women, a heart for women survivors. And I just want to encourage you, and I hope that anyone listening will support Golden Women Vision in Uganda. They do an amazing work. I have seen the work that they've done during COVID-19. Sylvia and her team were very responsive. They went around and made deliveries to persons who couldn't access food, things as basic as soap. You know, there were a number of survivors who were told you have to be hygienic in your practice, but they didn't even have soap. And Sylvia and her team came up with a way to make soap. They started the process of making soap themselves, the liquid soap, so they could go and distribute. So I just want to say that this is definitely an organization worth investing in. And I want to wish for you, Sylvia, all the best in your efforts to continue to support survivors.
Thank you so much, Lorraine. Thank you for your time to hear all what I could say concerning the survivors. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
God bless.
God bless you.